Cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. All right, you divine lions and lionesses, welcome back to Send It Sunday. The post President Trump made here yesterday set the anons afire. Does look like the storm may be upon us. We're going to be discussing the incredible moves the White House has just made. Plus, since we're in the Lionsgate portal, what does that mean for us cosmically and in the age of disclosure? EU is in a massive crisis. People are banging the war drums because it likely is going to come to certain areas a civil war. Must be like Poland. And what's in store for Alberta independence. All of this and much, much more as President Trump unleashes more FAFO on the deep state. See you soon in the live chat. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show. I'm your host, Brad Wozni, and thank you for hanging on for that dramatic pause in the beginning as a little bit of a technical issue was worked out here. That's what it takes to just bring a live stream to you on Sunday, August the 9th. Send It Sunday. How great is that? Wonderful time for all of us to be alive. It continues to be for everybody, despite all of the negativity which we're seeing. And some of that negativity is an observational fact in a massive way, right? The immigration crisis is actually an invasion. And all the stuff that we've been through for nearly 7 years now. Let's very first, at this moment, take a look at yesterday and the significance of it. Now, I posted this on 8/8, Embrace the Lionsgate. So for many of you, cosmologically, astronomically, and astrologically, how about that? Say all three of those 10 times fast, right? The Lionsgate peaked yesterday, and it's active for the next 4 days until the 12th of August. So the sun is in Leo. Leo, how cool is that? Leona is how you say lion in Spanish. So it aligns with Earth and Sirius, which is also known as the spiritual sun in Orion's belt. Pretty amazing. As you know, I've just been spent 12 days, 2 visits at the Bosnia Pyramid of the Sun and the Bosnia Pyramids Archaeological Park. They were discovered in 2005 by Dr. Samir Osmanagic. He himself has visited over 2,000, I think the number was 2,400 pyramids in the world. Obviously, he did his PhD dissertation on the Mayan civilization, and they have 48 scientifically published research papers in journals all around the world. He's also a fellow of the Moscow Institute and so many other scientific institutes, too, that confirm the alignment of the 5 pyramids, Bosnia Pyramid of the Sun to the Bosnia Pyramid of the Moon. I was there for solstice. I ran up the Bosnia Pyramid of the Sun to about 2/3 of the way to the top in the forest and was there for solstice as the sun rose at about 5:18 a.m., which was amazing to run for that beautiful village in Visoko. Well, why am I extrapolating on all of this about the pyramids? And I just mentioned the Lionsgate and how it aligns with Earth and Sirius, known as the spiritual sun and Orion's belt. Because when you look at other pyramid complexes around the world, in particular, which comes to mind for many people, is Egypt, Giza, Corfu, etc. They are aligned directly with other cosmic bodies, Orion belt and Sirius. So really powerful right now with the Lionsgate between yesterday until the 12th, that it creates a high frequency energetic portal for cosmic downloads and activations for all of sentient life. I mean, people think cats, dogs, horses, absolutely, sure. But in particular for us, for all of mankind, and the numerological power of 8. As we know in China, they love 888. There's spiritual significance in those numbers. So 88 actually amplifies abundance, infinity, manifestation. Very cool. In Sirius, again, the spiritual sun of our galaxy, Sirius beams elevated light codes that support spiritual awakening and DNA upgrades. Remember what Q said, protect your DNA. And the portal remains open until the 12th of August, and it's said to allow integration of these peak energies. So what does that mean for all of us? You know, as it's Sunday right now, many people on the other side of the world, thanks for tuning in on YouTube and Rumble and our other channels as well. Deeply appreciate it. And Monday for some of you, take time to really invest more in yourself these couple of days. And what I mean by that, well, you have a couple of different points, right? Psychologically, mentally, spiritually, first and foremost, nutritionally, physically, as well as maybe meditation, prayer, etc., yoga, and working out. But do it for yourself, because this is a time where you can put out good intentions and receive it back. You are a quantum reactor, right? We are the sound of limited love. That's our soul. Each one of you is a sovereign soul. And the soul, as we know, is infinite in space and lifetime. What is finite is this corporeal body that we have, which now we can extend it, our telomeres, 150, 200 years, right? I was just on a private Zoom with David Schmidt, LifeWave, and he's literally talking like that now. Wait until you see the next patch that's going to roll out here in October, which is incredible. How would you like to get the equivalent of a 90-minute run, in a hardcore, plyometrics workout in 10 minutes a day, but have an incredible body? So all this stuff is here because it's science-backed, it's proven, and it's nature is quantum in and of itself, and consciousness is the God mind, our creator. So it's very powerful to begin this Send It Sunday with this, because we're in that portal this time to realize the life which you want to lead, to have, and which you were born here to be. What did you sign up for this incarnation? Now, quickly going over to President Trump, which was incredible yesterday. Incredible. So much to talk about. He posted this. Trump, Aberdeen. Well, we know from Q, waiting for the storm. What storm, Mr. President? We see that in press conference when he was at the Oval for a dinner as 45 in the first administration. What storm, Mr. President? And he said, you'll see. Some of the greatest people in the room assembled right here in the world. Assembled right here, he said. Well, here we are on 8/8 from Aberdeen, Scotland, at Trump Aberdeen, in all caps. Excuse me, not all caps, but first words capitalized, right? Trump and Aberdeen. Now we take it over here, and thanks to somebody on our X account who is following us on X, be sure you're doing that, please, if you don't mind, because Elon's still allowing massive suppression, and Grok has confirmed that. What does Aberdeen mean? When you look at Wikipedia, it says that's the mouth of the River Don. So the mouth of the River Don, and Don, DJT 888. And on 8/8, he's posting this. I mean, it's just incredible, right? The mouth of the River Don, but it continues on Wikipedia. The name given to Aberdeen translates as mouth of the River Don, recorded as Aberdon in 1172 and Aberdeen circa 1180. The first element of the name is Pictish, the Pictish word Aber, river mouth. The second element is the Celtic river goddess Devona or Devona. Pretty incredible, right? And by the way, here it is on X. You're following us on X, Sovereign Soul 2, because it's our third account. And, over 10,000 posts and still massive suppression due to woke code, as Grok multiple times has confirmed it over to the AI robots running the X accounts, and they just kick it back and say, misinformation. But it's all directly from Grok that we send to them. It is what it is. You still continue on, right? You soldier on, which is really important. So are we in the storm? And I believe yes. And we're waiting for that famous Comm that Q had said that he will take to X, back then it was Twitter, and post, the storm is upon us. So I guess, again, precursor to it, right? But we'll see. It all comes down to the coding and all of these multifaceted moves that's going on in the spiritual warfare to literally save our planet, our species, and continue forward so we become a Type 1 spacefaring civilization, of which, by the way, that UFO drop just happened, drop number 5, on Friday. And coincidentally, the TR-3B was shown over an Air Force base in Colorado and filmed by civilians. And you had the Undersecretary of the Department of War taking to X later on Friday saying, hey, we will investigate this. And he actually said, we'll be looking into this and we'll let the public know under PURSUE, PURSUE, all caps, acronym, military acronym, to be released in the UFO files. Somebody just went, hey, I've got it, what the Air Force won't publish. Here's the video, right? And you see that TR-3B triangular aircraft, which is part of Air Force for Space Force, likely Space Force. And as a result of that, anti-gravitics and magnetics. Remember when President Trump 3 weeks ago was saying magnets, invest in magnets. So pay attention to that because it's going to come up a little later here in this show and the significance to that as well. So again, it's all out there for us. And even with the conference on Friday, which I'll be covering here shortly, they discussed certain minerals for, including magnets, spacecraft. And we're not talking about SpaceX and Elon sending those things up. It's really incredible what is going on right now. So let's get into that, right? So Friday, August 7th, was the American Mining Conference. So silver, platinum, and palladium are official U.S. critical minerals, not gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. And the Trump administration has explicitly adopted reference price and price floor mechanisms for critical minerals, but they haven't announced the actual floor. So again, on that U.S. critical minerals list, I'm going to take you right over here now, and you can all see a copy. I will post this into the chat. Let me take you over here to Trump Aberdeen for a moment. There's that page, and I will post a link here so you can see this. And literally remember the expression, everybody. The writing is on the wall. It's not like Chicken Little running around singing, the sky is falling, not having factual data sets to back it up. But here's the 2025 October list of critical minerals that are strategic critical minerals to the United States of American Republic, the government, right? And silver and palladium and platinum are on there, but they're all listed. They're all right here. I'll go over to the chat right now. I'll post a link in the chat so you all can see it for yourselves because, of course, over the summertime, hey, where's the bump in silver, gold, etc., right? Again, the war continues for everybody. So it's now in the chat so everybody can see it for yourselves. You can peruse these links and you have these facts. And once again, let's talk about the significance of that. So in October 2025, I'm going to post another link here. Remember, there was the proclamation by the White House of listing certain minerals as critical and including in that their derivative products. And they came up with another acronym for it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first 3 paragraphs of this. And this is a proclamation on the White House Gov website, right? January 14, 2026, based off the October 2025, what they issued, and I just shared with you. And it says here, on October, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation on October 24, 2025, the Secretary of Commerce transmitted to me a report on its investigation into the effects of imports of processed critical minerals and their derivative products, PCMDPs, on the national security of the United States under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, as amended 19 U.S.C. 1862, Section 232. Based on the facts considered in that investigation, which took into account the close relation of the economic welfare of the nation to our national security and other relevant factors, see 19 U.S.C. 186(2)(d), the Secretary found and advised me of his opinion that PCMDPs are being imported into the United States in such quantities and under such circumstances as to threaten to impair the national security of the United States. Number 2, the Secretary found that PCMDPs are essential to the national security of the United States. PCMDPs are indispensable to almost every industry, including national defense programs and critical infrastructure. PCMDPs are embedded across defense and commercial supply chains and play an essential role in the production of advanced weapon systems, energy infrastructure, and everyday consumer goods. For example, rare earth permanent magnets. Magnets, remember everybody, a derivative product of processed critical minerals, are used in and vital to nearly all electronics and vehicles. 3, and I'm going to end it here. I'll post this link into the chat too, so you all have it from an archive standpoint. Number 3, the Secretary found that PCMDPs are essential to the United States' defense industrial base and the technological superiority and operational readiness of the military. PCMDPs are key components found throughout the defense industrial base, contributing to virtually all defense capabilities and activities. They're essential for the development and sustainment of high-performance military equipment, including fighter aircraft, munitions, armor plating, naval ships, communication networks, navigation systems, and surveillance systems. And it continues on. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'll post this into the chat for all of you. Once again, if anybody has questions on silver market, gold market, and they're referencing it to you going, oh my gosh, what's going on? How come it hasn't shot up yet? It had a nice bump, went over 4,400 for gold this past few days, 65 US, finally a little bounce for silver coming up. And we have like 3 freaking cup handles going crazy that have never happened before in almost the 50-year history of silver, right? The golden cup, coffee cup handles, come on, pay close attention, right? Writing on the wall, take a note, write down that phrase. Remember, this is a time we'll be teaching your kids or your nieces, nephews, your friends about that. Heck, even 6 months or a year from now, you didn't see this? You didn't see this? Look, it was published. It was published. It was published. There it is, right? It was published. It's all there. Remember that the baddies published what they were going to do to us in 2020. They even wrote a book about us and published it, Carl Schwab, in June 2020. The Great Reset, right? This is what we're going to do to everybody. They told you. They told everybody before it happened. You're what's about to happen here. You can all see it. You are spiritually awake, far more important than patriot awake. Patriot, extremely good. We'll start there. Go to spiritually awake. You are spiritually awake, sovereign souls here, and I truly appreciate it. Now, I'm going to take you. So what I'm doing, if anybody's not aware, is I'm building the chronological background once again to remind people of how things have been laying the groundwork and the foundation, 45-47, and the cabinets, right? So I'm going to take you to another link. Look at this on the screen. I will place this in the chat, and I'll speak to the importance of this because I've covered this twice on other Send It Sunday shows, going back to February of this year, when United States Vice President J.D. Vance made a pretty powerful and pertinent statement. So this link is on the U.S. Department of State website. What is this link? Great question. On February 2nd, right, President Trump announced Project Vault, a landmark initiative led by the chairman of the Export-Import Bank of the United States, which marks an unprecedented step in U.S. industrial policy by establishing a domestic strategic reserve for critical minerals. Everybody knows about the Strategic Oil Reserve. America had that going back, the OPEC crisis of the 70s, LIOMS, the gas stations, etc. Strategic Reserve for Critical Minerals. Continues, the EXIM Board of Directors approved a direct loan of up to $10 billion for Project Vault, more than double the largest financing in EXIM's history, designed to shield domestic manufacturers from supply shocks. So you're a manufacturer, American miner or aggregate, supply shock, we're going to shield you. We're going to protect you. The government's going to protect you because you are mining or processing critical minerals necessary for the security and prosperity of the United States. Then it will also expand U.S. production and processing of critical raw materials and fundamentally strengthen America's critical minerals sector. Remember, so much of this was being offshored, China, other countries in South America, Venezuela, etc., right? That it just, collapsed so much of the critical minerals sector in America, in the industry, right? And it was even being brought in from Canada, certain parts like the Yukon and BC and Alberta and other provinces too, to offset that. Well, you've got the America First policy here going online with it. So a couple of significant events here that I want to share with all of you, okay? And again, February 4th, there you can see the State Department website. I'm going to back out of it right now. So importance number one, August 7th, this Friday. That was a Trump administration mining roundtable at the State Department. So February 4th, you saw that State Department. This is at the State Department. Remember what J.D. Vance said in February after that State Department meeting on the critical minerals materials. He said to the 54 nations present there, said that it is imperative we establish price floors. Price floors. So now you all have a list of those critical minerals and raw materials that are strategic to the United States of America's security, sovereignty, prosperity, and establishing price floors and reforms to ensure that those stay held. Just like you go back to the Gold Act of 1934, where the United States government repriced gold to $44 an ounce. So price floor, silver, gold, palladium, platinum, tin, titanium, you name it, cannot fall below this, which allows for the corporations to continue to mine them, process them, and deliver the raw materials, go through the aggregate, you name it. Powerful. And on Friday, August 7th, you had, with President Trump present at the State Department office building, over 200 mining executives, educators, so from the 14 mining schools around America, investors, and American officials, and said that the United States intends to reclaim its position as the world's minerals superpower. POTUS stated that. Nothing can stop that from happening. Powerful. Bear this in mind, everybody. This just took place 48 hours ago, a little more than that. Number two, I've got 7 points here. Number two, administration announced about $3 billion in new critical mineral battery investments. So it includes $1.4 billion in a conditional loan to follow these companies, watch them maybe. I'm not an investment advisor, nor a broker, nor a medical doctor, never ever wanted to be one. But again, it's heads up, everybody. $1.4 billion conditional loan to Sila Nanotechnologies. $400 million to Sunrise Energy Metals for scandium. Anybody know about scandium? Not radium, not barium, not aluminum, scandium. $150 million to Niron Magnetics. $150 million to Niron Magnetics, plus additional EXIM financing. Point number three for all of you. This is not an industrial policy play. It is explicitly national security policy. So Trump said critical minerals power everything from advanced weapons to cars, while Pentagon officials tie in rare earths, tungsten, germanium, and scandium directly to missiles, aircraft, armors, sensors, AI networks, etc., right? Number four, everybody can write this down. The administration is also building a strategic reserve and a domestic mining ecosystem. Remember, a few months ago, Department of War announced that they will have their own mining division, right? They're making sure that they control the supply chain and the value chain of those resources at the Department of War. So Reuters reported a $12 billion strategic mineral stockpile, a direct equity loan support for miners and processors in America, and new restrictions intended to reduce defense dependence on Chinese supply chains. Again, bring it all back, America first, be a sovereign, and be, as President Trump stated on Friday, everybody assembled, the world's minerals superpower. Number 5 on price floors, and this is real U.S. policy language. Remember on January 14th, President Trump's proclamation, I read the first 3 paragraphs to all of you, says Commerce and USTR should consider price floors for trade in critical minerals. So President Trump says that on January 14th. You have the link. J.D. Vance comes out in February and says that to 54 nations, we must have price floors. We will have price floors. They have not stated that yet. And that was on February 4th. That was at the critical, everybody's just joining and taking notes, Critical Minerals Ministerial is what it's called. CMM, Critical Minerals Ministerial, attended by reps of 54 countries, including the European Commission. And Vance said the U.S. would establish enforceable price floors. America is going to back enforceable price floors, upheld by adjustable tariffs on non-members to prevent dumping and undercutting, and aim to stabilize markets and encourage investment and counter China. Now, here's another link. All of you who are watching this live stream broadcast or listening later on as a podcast, here's a link on Newsmax to that, which came out on Sunday. Look at this. Excuse me, here's Sunday today, but here it is from Wednesday, the 4th of February on the press conference. Now I'm showing you live. Excuse me, I'm not showing you live yet. I pulled up the link. I'll show you live now. Yes, it says Sunday, August 9th, but this is the...
Yes, but I don't think we're going to need it.
Clip from the 4th of February. So you all have that, right? I bet your investment advisor and your stockbroker who would likely be removed from their position or receive a strong warning for recommending physical precious metals, because I've had 2 former stockbrokers and investment advisors on this channel, on this show, independently validate that if they ever referred to their clients physical precious metals in their stock portfolio or investment portfolio, they would be fired. They can only refer stuff that's paper, index funds, ETFs, blah, blah, blah. They would be fired. So now you have the link. I've placed it for you. You can see how things are building up. The world's mineral superpower. It doesn't get any better than that. But wait, there's more. So the stated purpose, again, of that floor is to stop foreign producers from dumping minerals below sustainable prices, wiping out Western producers, and raising prices later. So we look at NAFTA, for example, right? Brian Mulroney in Canada signing it with, I don't know if it was Reagan who was president then, and Mexico, the North American Free Trade Agreement. You know, this is great for all the countries, this is great for the economy, and all of a sudden it became a brain drain in Canada back then and for decades. And then you saw American jobs go to Mexico. So why would you pay somebody in America 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 an hour to work an assembly line at General Motors, Ford Motor Company, for example, or in other critical minerals sectors? Maybe you're just actually in Michigan doing potash, or you're doing coal mining in Pennsylvania, for example, right? When you can do it cheaply in Mexico or other South American countries, and then they can export it back from their countries to America, and everything's cheaper. So they collapse the industries in America and Canada, logging as well, right? Auto parts, make it cheap, collapse the industries, and then they raise the prices because they can't resource the firms, the people, or the talent. Just for example, I was listening to Mike Rowe last night say that he had a phone call from the CEO, president of Ford Motor Company, and they have right now 5,000 jobs that they call AI proof, which means there is no way AI robotics or humanoid AI robotics, which are coming, total Terminator, they're here, they're going to be rolled out, AI proof, and they're at least $120,000 a year jobs, and he can't fill them. He can't fill them at Ford Motor Company. So the trades in America and Canada has been completely depressed. The schools for trades, whether it's craftsmen, plumbers, bricklayers, mortars, engineers, what have been completely, nearly wiped out, obliterated over the last several decades, and they are screaming for it. Mike Rowe also said that there was an AI data center, and he talked to 2 electricians there, both under the age of 30, and those 2 electricians were clearing over $240,000 a year, and each one of them been poached more than 3 times by other AI data centers, right? And that conversation's for later about the AI data centers. It's not for this Sunday show. I'm going to do a specific show around all this kind of stuff. Flock cameras, Axon, don't make it just about Flock. Make it about everything. I mean, remember, this is a SMART device, and since my time at BlackBerry, they've been freaking surveilling you and spying on you. I'm not saying BlackBerry directly was, but there are elements and backdoors that were built into every single product. So surveillance state. So there's time to everybody to put a foot down on everything. Surveillance, no matter what. It doesn't stop at Flock. Keep it up with Axon. Keep going all across the board. Back to the fact that price floors are going to be enforceable price floors. That is Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, saying enforceable price floors to be established on those raw materials and critical minerals, of which silver, platinum, and palladium are. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, coming straight to everybody on a global scale. Right there. Powerful. So, they don't want any of that stuff to go on. That's a big reason why, right? And gold, again, is not on that list. So the admin's critical mineral price floor framework, it can directly encompass silver, platinum, palladium, at least at the policy category level, and then let the markets decide what the price is, right? From once you establish the floor, boom. And what I've heard, and we've had from one of the top precious metals experts in gold, and PhD economist, and a former Wall Street broker, and a former West Point graduate who was at a Ranger battalion as well, just 4 months ago, May was our last show, stating that, hey, once you get these price floors, I'm paraphrasing, once you get these price floors, what's necessary for an American mining company, and Juan Savin had said this, about a year ago here, August, on the show, and he said, hey, silver's going to be $50 an ounce by September, and after the first week of September, silver crossed 50 an ounce. Just like Juan said it would. It was just a couple days beyond that time frame. But it's necessary. They had both said and agreed. Well, Juan had said it, and this PhD economist, got to go back and watch it with that great man here on the channel about gold and silver, agreed that it's necessary to have at least a $280 an ounce silver price in order for American mining companies and manufacturers and distributors for it to be profitable for them. And take a look at what just happened on Friday at the State Department office. That is a 2 thumbs up for everybody and American manufacturers, as well as employers and those who are seeking jobs in these sectors. So I've got a couple more key points to this, right? About this. Gold was only visibly referenced at the event once because President Trump received a gift from a mining executive, and it was a gold replica of a Pacific seabed nodule. So, hey, he said, this is pretty cool. It's beautiful. Wow, it's pretty heavy. It's wild. But here are the overall tones, to wrap this up for everybody here watching, listening, contemplating. Do you move out of the fiat currency markets? Do you diversify? What's going to happen on the constitutional money? What's going on with the repo status on Executive Orders 13818, 13848, and all the other ones regarding transnational syndicates, human trafficking, drug trafficking, foreign terrorist organizations, the seizure and the repossession of the assets in there, which include the banks, you name it, homes, cars, planes, etc., that will get auctioned off or repurposed elsewhere. Well, if everybody needs to have a little bit of an update as to a rundown regarding this. We all know Reuters has done such a great job warning us about the coronavirus and causing you to want to go over there, but it is there if you have a Reuters data feed. We do this free, right? I do this free on the Sovereign Soul Show. You can tune in, but you want to go to Washington Post, you want to go to Reuters, everything's a paywall, New York Times. But I've just posted in the chat if you want. It's summarizing a little bit of what I've said here. And the key thing is that America is moving from let the global commodity market basically decide everything on our behalf and take advantage of us. We're going right back to America First policy. We're going back to government-backed stockpiling, financing, domestic sourcing, reference pricing with price floors, and that is explicit price floor mechanisms for strategic minerals. And once again, I'll say this 5-6 times now, since silver, platinum, and palladium are officially critical minerals, the policy groundwork for protecting their domestic economic value is undeniably in place now, everybody. Undeniably. So whether that evolves into a massive, dramatic monetary revaluation or, a separate inference, it's not something that has been confirmed yet as to what the price will be, but you have people coming out there telling you what is necessary as well. And for anybody who would like to go back and to see a little bit on what the White House said, shared, and expects and announced as well from President Trump, here's a link directly on the whitehouse.gov website from Friday, August 7th, and there's the fact sheet about bolstering American mining. I'm going to read the first 5 points to all of you here in case some of you are driving and you're just listening in, tuning in now. President Donald J. Trump announces billions in new deals and investments to power American mining. So it says today, President Donald J. Trump, 888, held a historic roundtable with the mining industry where he announced over $2 billion in critical mining and mining-related projects to revitalize the industry and over $180 million in mining school investments to bolster the American mining workforce. So, hey, everybody, if you have your kids who are in high school right now and they're looking, what's a good, maybe AI-proof job to go into for the next several years, that might be something to look into here, right? Here are a couple key points. The Department of War is investing over $85 million into, here's the name, Standard Bauxite to secure the supply chain of refractory-grade bauxite to support manufacturing of high-temperature resistant materials used to make critical components for our warfighters and essential to the modern industrial economy. Second point, Department of War is investing $150 million into Niron Magnetics, a Minnesota company developing and producing 100% domestic rare earth-free permanent magnets to support the defense industrial base and help eliminate dependency on foreign-produced rare earth magnets. Number 3, Department of War is investing $1.4 billion into Sila Nanotechnologies, California-based manufacturer to expand production of silicon carbon battery anodes and build out a lithium-ion battery cell manufacturing facility to strengthen the supply chains of satellite operations, unmanned aerial systems, and munitions. Number 4, Department of War is investing $400 million into Sunrise Energy Metals to develop a full scandium value chain, including the world's first primary scandium mine to help secure the supply chain of high-heat aluminum alloys, which are used in fighter jets and, I mentioned it earlier, spacecraft. And notice how it's distinguished. Fighter jets, Air Force, spacecraft, Space Force. Number 5, Export-Import Bank is investing $8 million into 5E Advanced Materials, a California-based company to develop a boron deposit, a key component of permanent magnetics. There it is again, semiconductors and glass. Number 6, the Export-Import Bank is investing $25 million into Westwater Resources in DJ's home state, Derek, Alabama, to develop the Coosa graphite deposit to support domestic battery manufacturing. Number 7, the Export-Import Bank is investing $25 million into Global Advanced Materials in Pennsylvania for tantalum and niobium to support electronic, magnet, and steel production. Development Finance Corporation is matching $4.8 million investment into Harina Rare Earths to develop a rare earth mine in Madagascar to secure vital inputs for American manufacturing, such as magnet metal and rare earths. I've said magnets, 15 times now, maybe? It's over 10 for sure. Okay, next one. Department of Energy is investing $100 million in America's 14 mining schools to revitalize the next generation workforce, double the number of graduates with mining, minerals, and associated supply chain credentials. Finally, Department of War is investing over $80 million into 3 schools. $80 million into 3 of those schools for major workforce development programs and technology innovation hubs to train the next generation of geologists, metallurgists, and mining engineers. And folks, I'm going to tell you, I pretty much believe that is also be doing this off planet. Off planet. That's exactly what I believe that's going to as well. So, hey, kids, how would you like to grow up, be an astronaut? You'd be a geologist, metallurgist, or a mining engineer on some other asteroid belt or planet or galaxy. Pretty cool. And then it talks about prioritizing domestic critical materials and their supply chains. And there's no dead horse here. Critical materials, it says, build and power the modern world from cars to military weaponry and factory machinery to smartphones and computers. It is vital that the United States have sufficient and secure mining, processing, refining, manufacturing, and recycling to reduce reliance on foreign countries. These investments help mitigate and reverse critical supply chain vulnerabilities, bolster U.S. industrial resilience against geopolitical disruptions, and ensure the defense industrial base and next-gen technologies are powered by secure and domestically sourced components, including silver, platinum, palladium, etc. So here you are, everybody. Once again, posting it into the chats on Rumble, YouTube. Go grab that. You can also look it up for yourself. Here you have that narrative, then the groundwork and the foundation laid for that massive spike that we expect and see happening, silver, gold, other precious metals, as a result of this, with a return to constitutional money backed by gold. What you also saw July 4th, right? Hey, here's the new $250 anniversary Freedom 250 bill with President Trump and Scott Besant's signature on it. Besant doing interviews on July 4th, Freedom Week. Hey, I've been down to Fort Knox. Hey, we have $1 trillion in gold down there. I know President Trump hasn't been down there, but he supports that. What do we have from JFK? President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Executive Order 11110, returning to a silver-backed dollar with silver certificates. Turn in a silver certificate, you get a silver-backed American dollar. This is what's coming. This is what we're waiting for, but they have to ensure this is all coming forth and putting it out there publicly so you can read the comms, the communications. Because again, it's not going to come from Wall Street, which is, again, taken over by and has been usurped by the deep state for decades. 1913 Act, everybody. We've covered that, and we beat that one to death. But in case anybody's just cluing up right now, in 1913 Act, it was the creation of the IRS, the FBI, the ADL, and, of course, the Federal Reserve. Nothing federal, and there's no reserves. It's just paper that they said everybody had to submit to. And they sublimated the entire world. And those who didn't want a central bank or kicked out central bankers like Putin did in Russia just a little while ago, and what they tried to do in Libya with Gaddafi, and said, I'm going to launch my own gold-backed dollar and reserves out of Libya, and I'm asking all the African nations to join me, and we will do it together. And look what they did to him over there. Now President Trump is bringing that forward. And BRICS was the perfect template to show everybody exactly what you could do with asset-backed precious metals, currencies, and digital assets, which are tied on the blockchain to those as well. Very, very powerful. So again, to summarize, Washington has put since October last year. So how many months are we? Everybody just do a number count. So October, November, December, January, February, March. You just add from 8. We're in the 8th month. Add 2 on half on top of it, because it was October 25th was that policy. Excuse me, it's October 7th was the policy. So in less than 9 months, Washington has put silver, platinum, palladium, and all the others inside America's critical minerals architecture, while the Trump administration 45-47 is explicitly pursuing price floor mechanisms that are enforceable. So the billion-dollar question is, what happens when those two policies converge? And what happens? Are you positioned to take advantage of it for your family? Because we know the loonie in Canada and other fiat currencies is continuing to crash, and it's an ugly thing. I'll be right back after this short message from our partner, BuddhaLovesGold.com. See you in a minute, everybody. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. This was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 five-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozni. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com. Really appreciate all of you, by the way, who leave comments on all of our socials underneath the shows here after the live chats close. And for those of you who are brand new and just tuning in for the first time, I mean, here's a Rumble page with 945 shows. Now, Rumble took 35 shows down in its infancy just over 4 years ago and 3 years ago. I guess due to misinformation, right? About the you-know-what, jabs, etc. But for the most part, in the last year or so, Rumble's been a lot better. And there's 945 shows. This is show number 945 live up on Rumble. Doesn't count the 35 they took down. So otherwise, we're almost at 1,000 shows that I have done here. And I really appreciate everybody. By the way, I had a great show that came out. And thank you for everybody. And on YouTube as well, too. You know, with the Higher Calling, Soul Speak with John Michael Chambers. That was fantastic. If you haven't watched it, this was just released a few days ago. The Age of Revelation, myself and Brad Olson in Croatia. We recorded this show in a beautiful production studio at Atma Podcast. And Inez and Dario, her husband, they have been, lovers since high school. And they went through the war together and lived in a bomb shelter for 6 months in 1990s in the war in Croatia. And they are the #1 freedom fighter podcast in Slavic Europe. And we did this, their production studio is on a 2,000-year-old ancient Roman ruin. So it was pretty amazing. So tune into that, watch Brad Olson and I there. And then here is Senate Sunday from last week, Patriotic Summer, coming back into it. So again, after the live streams, unfortunately, like on Rumble, the comment section closes in the live. So appreciate looking at your comments after the fact. And you can catch up on all of that there too. Also, all of our links for everything, Apple, to listen to our shows on Apple, on iHeartRadio, etc. BuddhaLovesGold.com. Everything is below the description on every single show, every platform. So whether it's X, Truth Social, Facebook, Now Instagram is launching in a couple other places, and very shortly we'll have a pretty incredible website. Finally, for the first time in over 4 years in a show, we'll have a website. How about that? Pretty amazing. So you can find all the links right in the description. You can scroll there, you can see it, LifeWave, Root, etc. Drop a comment, and we have people that are amazing to get back to you, and we appreciate all of you that you do. So let's continue here. Let us continue with the storm. Is it here? And again, as you know, from the very beginning, I said I believe it is, and a couple of reasons why. And here's another one. So let's go over to the FAFO, right? As you can see here on the thumbnail, we have FAFO over to the far right. Look around, find out. Well, Trump is also cleaning up the deep state and part of the mess. Now let's take a look at what he unleashed and the administration unleashed just this week. And I have 7 key immigration citizenship developments that are pretty amazing. So he wrote and published on August the 6th 2 new executive orders on birthright citizenship. So it's not ending, as the fake news would tell everybody, it's not ending birthright citizenship for everybody. No, they've got a narrower focus than that. They're targeting the loopholes, those who've exploited the loopholes in the birthright citizenship. So number 1, it excludes citizenship for children who are born to, specific language here, alien enemies, members of foreign terrorist organizations, or foreign lobbyists and embassy-affiliated personnel. So boom, hey, you're designated a foreign terrorist organization, you're a member of the cartel, and that's your kid, and you've been living here in America, and your kid is here, grew up here, was born here in America, and they're naturalized, see you later. You're an enemy, they're gone too. That's it. The second executive order that POTUS signed on August 6th targets birth tourism. So this is a big thing, and I heard about it back in the early 90s. You know, with the way the law was in America, you know, people could be over there on vacation, and if you have a child, you gave birth in America, boom, American citizen, then the parents can apply. In a way, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Had no idea what was going on here. Birth tourism. So this is people misusing their tourist visas with the intent to give birth for citizenship. So this is framed as protecting the meaning and value of U.S. citizenship, expected to face immediate legal challenges some places, but that's a crackdown, right? Leveraging the Immigration and Nationality Act authority to tighten visa security and bar automatic citizenship for children of parents who fraudulently enter as tourists for what they call birth mills. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and officials emphasized ending abuse that undermines citizenship integrity. So, for example, I heard this one story from, I guess it was a law enforcement officer on another program, and he was in Detroit, and he was saying, you know, for example, we have these guys who come here. He's saying this about an Islam guy for one example. He said, so we went in there, and out of one room comes pregnant girl wearing a burqa. Another room, another pregnant girl wearing a burqa. Another room, another pregnant girl wearing a burqa. And in another room, a 4th pregnant girl wearing a burqa. They're all impregnated, all 4 girls, by the same guy. They're all married to him, so they get the citizenship, and they start having his kids, and they get the social welfare, and they were going down to the American Social Welfare Office in Detroit and claiming my husband left me, and they're on Social Security, and they're popping out his kids, and then they're in government-sponsored housing. So this officer goes along to describe, he goes, so we're literally looking at some of the kids on the street from different households. They're his kids playing with each other. And he's collecting massive bank, not working. They're not working, the women aren't working, and they're popping out his kids, and they're getting paid for every kid they pop out. That's an example. And then, speaking about that, ongoing mass deportations and ICE operations. So DHS and ICE continued high profile, they call it worst of the worst, and Make America Safe Again operations this week. Let me show you a link over here on the website. God bless the good officers who are doing things benevolent, because we have white hats, and we have dark hats, black hats. We have light and dark everywhere. So God bless these ones who are crushing it. Let me take you over here to the Making America Safe Again on the DHS website. Awesome. Coming out of there, of that pave hawk. Kind of a nice painting design there too, with the gold on that. Not too camoed, but I guess it is what it is. But again, they say under DHS leadership, the hardworking men and women of the department are fulfilling President Trump's promise to make America safe again by removing violent, criminal, illegal aliens. ICE Most Wanted, then you have U.S. Coast Guard, and then you have the Customs and Border Protection. I know 2 Nazis at Customs and Border Protection. Hopefully they're no longer working, but it is what it is. It is what it is, you know, and they'll eventually get caught or have their day of justice. Karma will come. Karma will definitely come. So they're taking out, deporting criminal, illegal aliens, murderers, rapists, sex offenders, drug traffickers, gang members, emphasis on prioritizing public safety threats, regular updates, highlighted removals, and community liberation from migrant crime. Now, if it was me, I would have more of a militaristic view on this, and mine is more aligned with Yahshua, Christian, right? If they are a sex offender, rapist, and a pedophile, I mean, quick trial, confirm it, death penalty. So there must be a reason why, they've done all of this, deport them, get them out of our country. There must be a reason. I haven't seen it yet, but we have to believe that there is a good reason for that, because, you know, once they're a repeat offender like that, at that level, and Luciferian, only the blessing of Yeshua and our Creator can change that soul. That's for sure. Anyways, continuing on. Trump is also testing the meaning of subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So again, I talked about that second executive order that POTUS signed targeting additional categories on foreign government and international organization personnel. So if they are at an embassy and they're an embassy worker and they find their way and maybe they're doing some espionage on America, see you later. So is your kid. See you later. Out you go, right? So that is pretty powerful, pretty powerful. And then the denaturalization process that was announced this week, which was pretty amazing to see this. Now, there was a story that came out a little while ago. U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ wants me to confirm that I'm not a robot. So here we go. I'll take you over there to their website with this one. Office of Public Affairs, Justice Department, from earlier this year, secures the denaturalization of convicted gun trafficker and healthcare fraudster and files complaint against marriage scammer. So this is another thing that has been going on for quite a long time in America and other places in Western countries as well. You know, hey, I know you, let me come over there, let me marry you, kick around for, 3 years until they get their citizenship and off they go, right? But if they've lied on their application, they're an actual criminal. I just saw one recently that was a war criminal, human rights violations. They just got him. So again, they're ramping up the denaturalization process, and they ramped it up this week in a very, very big way. Now, this is not to say that the DOJ can just go ahead and say, we think you lied, see you later. There's a whole investigation. And for example, the one that came up recently, and this was published I believe it was this week. Let me go over here and get the date. 2 weeks ago. Friday, July 24th, national Bosnia and Herzegovina charged with attempting to fraudulently obtain U.S. citizenship by failing to disclose role in abuse of prisoners. Well, listen to this one. 3 paragraphs I'll read here. A federal grand jury in the District of Idaho returned an indictment this week charging Moran Kostic, 66, of Boise, Idaho, national of Bosnia and Herzegovina, while attempting to obtain U.S. citizenship. According to court documents, Kostic was a high-level official in the so-called autonomous province of Western Bosnia In that role, he pistol whipped prisoners, beat them with wooden clubs, stakes, and fists, and kicked them, causing them to lose consciousness. He forced prisoners to beat each other, and he also ordered other members of his outfit, APZB, to beat prisoners. His application to become a U.S. citizen and interviews with the FBI and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, he repeatedly lied about the abuse he participated in and ordered, and failed to disclose charges filed against him in Bosnia and Herzegovina for war crimes, among other lies. Kostic is charged with attempted, and stay tuned for this, because this is what you'll also like. Kostic is charged with attempted naturalization fraud and making material false statements to law enforcement agents. If convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison for each charge and 5 years in prison for the false statements charge. Wow. So here it is. And then the final comment here, I'll read in the fourth paragraph. I was only going to read 3, but you'll like this last part. Miran Kostic benefited from U.S. residency for decades and ultimately attempted to become a naturalized citizen, all while concealing the human rights abuses he committed in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So, wow, big one. So those are things. If you have any woke cyborgs running around chanting, "Yo, ICE, no, ICE." Hey, people like that, you want them as your next door neighbor? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Stealing money from you, doing bad things, and if they go off the reservation again, as they say, it's going to be no bueno for some good law-abiding citizens, people, sovereigns. So again, to wrap it all up, right? This isn't a single immigration policy. It is, and the FAFO, a four-front citizenship strategy. Control who enters, just like heaven. Heaven has tall walls, the heavenly realm. It's got gates and a strict policy. Remove those who are legally subject to removal. Challenge the citizenship obtained through fraud, like you saw a couple examples and I shared with here, and test where the 14th Amendment birthright guarantee actually begins and ends, right? So you have this entry, lawful residence, naturalization, citizenship. Very, very powerful what President Trump and his administration are doing, making it all about cleaning up the deep state internally, making it more difficult for anybody to come in a big, big way. Obviously, he said border crossings are down to, I guess it was 0 now in 8 months, 9 months. Somebody could put that in the chat. Maybe it was a little bit more. Awesome. Congratulations on the southern border. And again, you have that invisible line across the Corporation of Canada, which, by the way, once again, according to District of Columbia, and it's on its own statutes, and it's backed by Texas Republic and its own statutes too, that Canada as a corporation is only juristic to its territorial waters, not even the land. And again, the Crown Corporation of Canada, registered in Washington, D.C. Dominion Corporation, a business entity, no more a business entity than McDonald's with a security force. Of course, me having been a soldier volunteering for service, me being a wildfire fighter, ranger, hopping out of helicopters, fighting real wildfires, not ones that we thought were, now these days, they seem to all be started by directed energy weapons and high beam lasers everywhere around North America and other parts of the world where they've said 15-minute city here. We don't like you. We want the AI data center. You stood up and you said no at the city council office. We'll just burn all your houses to the ground, leave the beautiful trees so we can rebuild our campuses in 15-minute cities. And oh yes, this continues to go on like we just saw up in Washington State and Spokane a week ago. Fighting real wildfires was awesome. Northern Ontario and the Yukon. And we've got a lot of that still going on right now because there's still fire is fire and very dangerous. So God bless everybody in emergency services and crews and the good military who are fighting the good fight on all levels, Space Force as well, and the Galactic Federation on our behalf. Take a quick break, come back at the last part here, the EU crisis, and why I said in the introduction that I definitely see in certain parts in the EU, and hopefully not, but potentially certain regions in Canada and the United States, civil war. This is what I see. This is just my opinion. And I'm going to share a couple things as to why I see it. And it's not to put people into fear. It's observable facts and proper, remember the rule of 7 Ps, right? They taught us in the Canadian Infantry, proper previous planning prevents a piss poor performance. So, be right back after these messages from good old Goldco, because now you have the continued truth that's being pumped out there from this show. See you in a moment. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. This was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 5-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozni. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com. Now, I don't know if any of you have watched the movie Citizen Vigilante with Armie Hammer. Sounds like Arm & Hammer, right? But it came out a couple weeks ago. Banned by certain countries in Europe. I wonder why. And if you don't know, it's on Amazon. It's a bad movie, I will tell you. As a screenwriter and as a guy who's worked on multiple movies, film sets, TV sets, in various capacities, primarily in the direction department, though. Terrible hero's journey, our architecture of that story. You just hate the hero, who's supposed to be the hero, Armie Hammer's character. But at the end of the day, you definitely stand for what he stands for, right? You're definitely on the side of the light part. But you just end up hating him. It makes no sense. But I do recommend people watch that because it shows you like it is in Europe today. And the UK today, parts of Europe, not Poland, of course, because as the member of European Parliament, God bless their souls, Chin Dobry to all of the Poles, said, be like Poland. Now in 2024, what Poland did, Poland allowed the soldiers and the border guards to use live ammunition to fire warning shots. Now, 2026, just the last few weeks in the summertime, July, they allowed them to shoot to kill if you are being attacked, because we've seen things being overrun. And he said, you need to be like Poland because we have no rape, we have no immigration crime, we have no invasions, etc. Right? Yet, again, remember, Citizen Vigilante, Armie Hammer, was banned in certain countries. I wonder why. And from my last check, I believe it was Spain too. Probably because it calls this stuff out in real time in its film. So here's Kirill Dmitriev, once again from Russia, calling it the rape of Europe, reposting on Friday. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who just had her husband's birthday, who is a veteran, who was shot, a wounded veteran, on Purple Heart Day, had his birthday, so God bless her and him. Says, ask yourself why. Here's the rape statistics in Europe of the year 2000 versus 2023. In England and Wales, went from 8,593 rapes to 68,109 in 3 years. Germany, 2000, 8133 to 39,000. That's a 5-fold increase right there. There's an 8-fold increase in England and Wales. And in France, from 7,500 to 42,400. The rape of Europe. Well, here it is, another post. Americans are done being gaslit. Frisco, Texas just showed the country what happens when people finally say the quiet part out loud. Now, this is Jake Lang. Jake Lang's been on here, and you must remember that Jake was in prison for 4 years. J6 moved into around different prisons whenever he was supposed to get a visit from his fiance, then girlfriend. They moved him to a different place in a different state. They kept him in solitary along with a lot of other J6ers. Cindy Lou Young's going to be back here on the show at the end of the month so everybody can hear what's going on. And Jake is going around and literally lighting it up. Listen to every single word he says. Put the earmuffs on the kids, and I'm going to mute my microphone here so there's no echo when I play this video, everybody.
They're here to drive us out of our homelands. You have to understand, these people do not want to assimilate. These people have not come here to become Americans. They have come here to drag their third world culture over to our country. If Jainism, if Hinduism is so great, why are their countries shitholes? They are bringing this ideology here to turn the third world is not a place. It is a people. It is an ideology. It is a way of life. It is a culture. And when they bring their people, their way of life, their ideology, and their culture over to America, do you think it's going to remain American? Have you ever looked across the plains of Texas and said, I need 5 million Jeeps here right now to shit in the street? You are selling out this country to people who do not want to live near you. They want to build their own separate, segregated zones where they practice their religion, their food, their way of dress, their language. They don't care about white culture. They don't care about American culture. They don't like you. They will replace you. Their culture in both Muslim and Hindu is pedophilia. And I have the child marriage in Mensur Rudy, which is one of their religious texts. It suggests a 30-year-old man marry a 12-year-old woman, or a 24-year-old man is perfect for an 8-year-old girl. What the fuck is wrong with you inviting these people into our country?
I'm going to show you another one. So remember he mentioned, they're going to shit in the streets. So we just saw in Alberta, Calgary, this week, filmed on surveillance camera, Indian guy walks into a bus shelter, drops his pants, takes a crap right there in the bus shelter, wipes his butt, leaves it right there. And we've seen it all over the place. We saw just a few days before that in Port Credit in Ontario, where I used to fish for salmon as a little boy growing up. The Port Credit River, the salmon run, everybody knows the Toronto Salmon Derby. Toronto Star Salmon Derby is what they called it back in the 80s and 90s. Guy runs over to 2 Indian women in their cars. He's like, what are you doing? What did you just throw in there? You're throwing your crap, your garbage into the Port Credit. That's our river. That goes into Lake Ontario. And she's like, it was only poo. It was only poo. He's like, in these bags? Yes, it was just full of poo. I just threw it in the river. And you heard what Jake just said there. You might not agree with every single word Jake says, but at least he's a man standing up rather than sitting down, letting other people do it. And by the way, when he talked about that from the standpoint of what the religions believe and they do, we've all heard of the holy Ganges River in India. Here is a reporter who just posted this on their X account from the holy Ganges River in India. Take a look.
Dear Jesus. You can smell it. How much sewage is coming out there right now?
150 million liters per day.
How many people's sewage is that?
1 million.
So that's the shit of 1 million people flowing into the Ganga every day.
Yeah. This is just one drain.
Environmental scientist Rakesh Jaiswal has been campaigning for a cleaner Ganges for 25 years.
Today, Ganga is more polluted than it was 30 years ago. And last 24 years, I have seen the situation worsening only. No improvement at all.
In total, drains along the Ganges empty 1 billion gallons of raw sewage and industrial waste into the river every day. Decomposing bodies make their way into the water from riverside crematoriums. And in Kanpur, hundreds of tanneries release toxic chemicals and heavy metals into the river, which is the city's source of water.
Half of Kanpur city, including me, was getting drinking water from River Ganga. The water there was highly contaminated, containing city wastewater and also a contaminated discharge from TB hospital, tuberculosis hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Take us off. Any of you were paying attention with Mark Carney's visit recently in April in India, and the Prime Minister Modi of India said, "You have a lot of room. You can take 60.8 million more Indians." And Carney went, "Great idea." 60.8 million. And next year in 2027 is 750,000 that have been reported to be slated to be brought to Canada, flown to Canada, and likely, from what we've seen, likely, given their $4,400 tax-free a month debit card, free government housing, the promise of a job and a workforce, and employment. That is just the one country. Now remember, there are subsets of everybody at different levels, right? And you have the second most populated country on earth, India, behind China, and you just saw that video. Well, it continues. It continues. Here is Mumbai. Just one beach in Mumbai. Imagine what happens with 1 billion liters of sewage being dumped from rivers into other rivers and tributaries every single day. And they just do it right out in the open. And this is well known, this is well acknowledged across Canada and in communities across America right now. And this is just one facet of the culture, because I've known growing up in Ontario and being out west, Alberta and British Columbia, I can tell you there are some incredible hard-working Indian families, great people who actually escaped and got citizenship to actually improve their lives and to contribute to society. And they do. Incredible, right? Then there are others who are like every other race, who are there to not contribute, to just leech on the system and leech on people. No bueno. We cannot coexist with those types of people. Now, if those folks are not standing up, they're not standing up, and they're not stopping the enslavement and the tyranny from the governmental levels, the municipal levels, provincial, state, which is still going on. You saw California stolen elections recently too. Well then, this is also what's coming. Now this video, there's many of them like it, and they've been posting this for years, and they've been going out. Because in Ukraine, there is, as we've seen, there is no volunteer army. They are snatching men and young teenage boys off the street and throwing them to the meat grinder, the front lines. So, some people need shock and awe. Here's a recent video of another snatch attempt of a Ukrainian man with his girlfriend. Keep the sound on, and definitely do not have the children in the room for this one.
Уйдите отсюда! Не пускай. Дай телефон. Пошли вон! Пошли вон! Мне 19 лет! Вера, звони! Звони дяде, Вера! Звони дяде Андрею! Звони дяде Андрею! Мне плохо! Мне плохо! Вы меня убиваете! Убиваю! Ладно, давайте им документы. Я привезу документы. Ну не бейте меня. Вера, не пускай меня, Вера. Пожалуйста. Так бывает. Уйдите отсюда!
Does that disturb you? A young man saying, I'm 20 years old, I have my documents. His girlfriend Vera holding on to him, screaming so that she doesn't lose him. He's saying, hold my arm, Vera, call your uncle Andre. Snatching him to send him to the front lines in the meat grinder. If people don't stand up, if they don't speak out, if they don't vote for Alberta independence, these are these next steps. They're right there. It's in the playbook. That will be in your community. That will be your son. That will be your husband. That will be your uncle, your brother. That will be the kids next door. That's here. Now. That's here right now. That's what they're waiting to do. And if you're in Canada, just remember only a few months ago that the head of the Canadian Armed Forces said, yeah, we're going to help train 300,000 civil servants to be an extension of the army for a war that's coming. These are the words. Those are quoted. It's all here. It's all at once. And in Europe, in the UK, we saw the reports just a week ago that in the UK over 250,000 women and girls had been raped. Raped. 250,000 of England's women have been raped these last few years. And those who have reported the rapes and found that it was gang rapes by immigrants in this invasion that's going on in every Commonwealth country around the planet, many of those women and girls were arrested by police because the police said that they did not give those men a fair chance, or they uttered something that was hate speech. A rape victim arrested for reporting a crime of being gang raped. Many of those videotaped gang rapes. Disgusting. Disgusting. And it continues. And hey, that is not just in Europe, because here it is in Ottawa. Just reported even on the CBC as to the amount of rapes going on in Ottawa. And isn't it interesting how they say they have absolutely no idea what has happened? Here it is. Here's the clip for everybody. Mute my phone, excuse me, the microphone, so you can hear this loud and clear. They have no idea why.
Recent surge. When you saw that number, what was your reaction? Were you surprised?
Yes, I was surprised. It's a big number, so it's always shocking to see that type of a number when you're looking at sexual assaults across the city.
Okay, can we break them down as much as possible without compromising, of course, the investigation? You said 150. That's been an increase. What do you think is behind that increase?
Who's to say what's behind?
150 rapes in Ottawa in July. Who's to say what's behind all of that? Ezra Levant, head of Rebel News, posted that 150 for a tiny little town, city, Ottawa, in a month, in July, when you got daylight until 8 o'clock at night, surveillance state everywhere. Well, we have no, who's to say? Why? This is like multiples and multiples higher than it's ever been. Who's to say, right? Let's remember, it's from the same machine that allowed this to happen to all of us. And here it is, so thank you, Ryan, for reposting this. Quick little history lesson. Because this is what Trudeau and the deep state everywhere had for us. Quick little listen.
S'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination.
For those who don't parler en français, there's a translation right below. I'll enlarge this.
Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont en train d'hésiter un petit peu. On va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre. Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui ne croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, puis souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer. Maintenant, on va s'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination. Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont...
There you are. And if you're driving and you can't read the subtitles in English, he's talking about the vaccinated people are, amazing, and the unvaccinated people, we are racist and we are misogynist and we are against the science, fiercely against vaccination, as it shows right there. And continues to go on. We're just a small group. We have to make a choice in terms of leaders, in terms of the country. Do we tolerate these people? Or do we say, hey, most of the Quebecois people, 80% are vaccinated? Of course, he's not, because remember, politicians were exempt in America, in Canada, across the Commonwealth, other places. And he said, we want to come back and do things that we like doing. But it's not those people, the vaccinated, who are blocking us. It's the unvaccinated. I'm blocking Trudeau from coming back to work. Well, anyway. Racist misogynist, apparently, according to Trudeau. This guy right here on Jab. Standing up. So, now that we're going into roughly year 7, we're 6.5 years into it since lockdowns had been initiated at this point in time. The other big, massive, observable, unequivocal threat is the invasion and what is about to kick off in certain areas. Now, you know that many law enforcement across places, not all, and again, there's good and there's bad, there's light and there's dark everywhere. Some of them have their hands tied, can't do anything. That's what I've heard said. I don't know about that at this point in time. But others aren't going to be there for you. So just make sure you have a community. I go back to something I've been saying for 4 years. You have community, you have protocols, security protocols, food, water. You know how to protect yourself just in case. You know how to protect your family. That's it. I'm not saying at all you would be 100% peaceful. Nobody's here saying go look for a fight. There is a fight that's coming, though. But just be ready in case it shows up at your doorstep. There was a mother on, I believe it was Idaho, this January. This happened this January. Incredible, 2026. But an incredible, powerful, heartbreaking story. Right after Christmas, she lost her husband due to a heart attack. She had a young baby. It was 1-year-old at home. She's at home by herself. New Year's Eve. 2 men come bursting into her onto her doorstep, trying to break down her door. She calls 911. She has a double-barrel shotgun. And the 911 operator, and this is on CCFR in Canada, and I believe it was also in what's the Second Amendment? Charlton Heston runs that rights advocacy group. Somebody put it in the comments here. Great group. Also shared this as well here this week earlier because the trial just ended. She was on the phone with 911 operator and she said, I have 2 barrels. I have a shotgun. Do I take action? Do I shoot them? And again, she just buried her husband a week ago. She's at home alone with a 1-year-old baby protector. The 911 operator, God bless the woman for saying this. She said, you do whatever you have to do to protect that baby. And those guys broke down the door and she took them both down, shot them dead with her shotgun. Now the trial just completed and the judge found her innocent of any negligence, harm, manslaughter. They came on her property and they were coming after her and her baby, and she took them down. And she got an applause in the courtroom. That's what I'm talking about, just in case. Make sure you know what to do. Make sure you have people to back yourself up, just in case. And again, these are observable, unequivocal effects which are going to happen throughout the world and the White Hat Alliance. God bless all their souls who have been here, who have paid the ultimate sacrifice below ground, on terra firma, and also in the stars. Real deal. Because they've got us to this point, but we also have to know how to take care of ourselves and our families, right? As it comes to a close here on this Send Sunday, there are a couple of things that are going on where you can also speak up. You can also share. Again, everything I'm saying is always to be peaceful here, right? And for example, all of you Americans who are watching, and those who want to take this template as well for any of their nations and communities around the world, take a look at what's going on in amazing Alberta, my home province now. The rise of Alberta. Once Alberta leaves Canada, and again, October 19th, everybody remember, October 19th. We're less than 80 days away from voting on October the 19th. What's the date, everybody? October 19th. Monday, October 19th. All across Alberta, vote for your independence. Because as Rise of Alberta says, once Alberta leaves Canada, it has a clear path to becoming one of the most prosperous countries on earth. Alberta already produces 4.3 to 4.5 million barrels of oil per day with only 5.1 million people. So roughly 0.85 barrels per person every single day. It's higher than Kuwait, higher than Qatar, and far higher than the UAE on a per capita basis. How amazing is that, right? Higher than all of them. Well, it continues. Those countries use the same kind of oil wealth to eliminate personal income tax, generate enormous surpluses. Alberta starts from an even stronger resource position. This is just with oil, guys. Right now, Alberta sends tens of billions net profits out of the province every year through equalization and federal transfers while receiving nothing, zero back. The number is 47% of the equalization payments in Canada come from Alberta. Independence ends that outflow overnight. Overnight, 47% of all the Canada Crown Corporation receives from Alberta, done. October 19th, Monday, October 19th, everybody. Every American, please shout that from the rooftops. Get all your other American brothers and sisters to hear about this patriot movement in Alberta. The full value of Alberta's energy production stays here in Alberta. That creates a structural surplus large enough to fully fund every service currently provided by Ottawa and still leave a massive residual for lower taxes, higher public investment, direct returns to citizens, and I'm going to add mass deportations. Critics claim Alberta would be weak after separation. Reality is the opposite. Alberta supplies critical energy to British Columbia and Ontario, all the way over to Ontario. They get energy from us Albertans. Those provinces need the oil and gas. That physical dependence is real leverage. Alberta would be positioned to demand proper pipeline access. And thanks to President Trump, they now have a pipeline running right in to Montana. Woo! Good job 2 months ago, President Trump. Alberta would be positioned to demand proper pipeline access, commercial terms that unlock further production growth to meet global demand. Expanded egress capacity becomes a mutual interest once the alternative is tight supply for the rest of Canada. High oil output per person, and end to fiscal drain, energy leverage that forces better infrastructure. That combination is how us, a province, then to be independent, of just 5 million people turns into one of the richest countries in the world, independence doesn't risk Alberta's future. It unlocks it. So look at this. Kuwait, its own country. Qatar, its own country. UAE, its own country. Look what they all have, and look what Alberta can do combined as a result of it with independence. That's where we're going, everybody. October 19th. Until then, God bless you all. Thanks for being here, you incredible sovereign souls. Oh, by the way, once again, on gold and silver, how amazing is that? As the Indonesia rupiah crashes, gold investment demand surges 40% because gold holds its value. Fiat paper currency doesn't. We're seeing that again in Canada right now with its paper currency continues to crash. Not good for Canadians relying on that for purchases and spending. But you're seeing this for this new transition into asset-backed financial wealth. And that's where we're going. God bless you all, everybody. Much appreciation for everybody being here. We'll talk to you later. See you next time. And have yourself a great night. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. This was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 five-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozni. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com. Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our Blinged Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.